Welcome back. All right. Stretch break is over. Moving on to fiscal year 2025-2026 budget update discussion action item. Danny Burkhart, go ahead and fill us in on this.
Okay, so basically for tonight's purposes, I wanted to get this in front of you before the end of June. There's some things that are still kind of out in the ethers right now. I don't know how much money we're gonna get, for instance. I don't know how much money we're gonna get from the Supplemental Law Enforcement Fund. The state has not yet decided how much we're going to be allocated for that fund, so I'm not sure how much it's gonna be for what we are allocated this year. I won't know probably till the end of July.
Does that delay our overall budget adoption? or
No,
is
it just means an amendment, but don't bank on that number being the right number for the purposes of tonight's discussion. Because I don't know if it is the right number yet or not. It can be open if there's nobody like having extra conversations in the.
Where it's a little cool
Breezeway.
sometimes.
Mhm.
Anyway, so do we, I don't know that we ever know when that, well,
We usually do know by the end of May, the beginning of June. We
Okay.
usually do know.
okay.
But this time we don't. That's my main
So I
thing to
noticed,
point out.
our number for last year is higher than it was supposed to be. Right?
Which number?
Which
sorry?
number is higher?
The actual number, the projected actual for the Supplemental Law Enforcement Services grant is higher. We were expecting 170,000 and it shows 185,000.
Yes, we received 185, and then we ended up paying out. Yes, it's in the packet. We ended up paying out a total of, instead of 170, 159 this year, we ended up paying, this is, first of all, this is 185. This is a projection based on what we got last year. Last year, we paid an actual of 190 and change
Right.
to our law enforcement services.
Right, but I'm saying what we received.
Yeah,
Last
what we
year we
received was
received
185.7, was just under the 185.
for this year.
That's what we received for 24-25. We have not yet received our allocation for supplemental law enforcement services for 25-26.
Right. But we were expecting 170,000 for 24-25, and we got 185,
Right, which went
which
and
is
got
kind of
spent.
nice. Yes. But I'm just saying, well, we don't know what the state's going to do. Maybe
Yeah, we
it'll
don't
go
know what
down,
the state's
maybe it'll go down, but it's gone up every year.
It has gone up. This number here, the 185,771, is if there's a 3% increase to the number.
Mhm.
This is if they give us a 3% increase to our what we got last year. That's that 185 that's in your current draft budget for this year, this coming fiscal year that starts on the 1st of July.
Okay.
So that's one of the big things to point out. The other big thing to point out is going to be on page. Actually, let's go with your graph. That's going to be way easier for the purposes of where we are tonight. It's going to be on page 8 of the budget packet. It is a graph. And for those in the audience who would like to see, our general fund is currently, with this projected budget, going to be approximately $121,932 over budget. I.e., I don't have that money somewhere I can just take it from and put it in the general fund. And this is just to sustain what we currently have going on with respect to salaries and wages, with respect to our contracted professional services. This is not giving an increase to the city manager. That is not in here. The 90 grand you guys approved for the previous manager back in March, that's what your wages and salaries is based on for your city manager position for the purposes of this budget. With their benefits included, that's going to be a total package of about $140,000 over the whole year, just to give you an idea of what you're looking at there. Salary, it goes without saying, salaries and wages tends to be the biggest part of our budget as far as, coming out of our general fund. And that's just due to the fact that we have staff and cost of living increases and The normal things that we would expect. Things I don't expect to change too terribly much: highway users tax fund, TDA street fund, TDA purchase transportation fund, those kinds of special revenues. I'm not expecting them to change terribly much. We estimated a 1% increase on those because they do tend to go up about 1% a year. And then your CBDG program income, that's all gonna stay the same because we haven't applied to be in the program for
Page
more
are you on,
money.
just so I can get that for
I'm
you?
11.
I'm going,
Thank you.
through in
Oh,
order,
okay.
10, 11, I'm on 11 now, we'll go to 12 next.
Yep.
Because basically 12 through 14 is gonna be our enterprise funds, our water and sewer. We're going to be having to do another rate study probably for water and sewer bills because we are not currently meeting cost recovery and the water fund.
And the rate study that did happen where the new rates took effect in early 2023, that was a 5-year study. So there's 5 years worth of increases that are happening only in the second year.
We may need to revisit that because basically our water and sewer bills need to be cost recovered. The enterprise fund can't operate without it,
So please define cost recovery.
meaning that the services we provide are recouped in the form of being basically divided against the whole population that gets water service in Humboldt, or in Blue Lake, excuse me.
Mhm. And the intention, I think, of that was to, over 5 years, remedy that situation.
Right. And after the first 2 years, it was looking pretty hopeful that we would be in good shape. But it's not, we're currently not holding at cost recovery due to a bunch of the aging infrastructure for water distribution and having done rather large repairs this year and anticipating a few more in the next fiscal year. This is why I'm saying we may need to revisit this.
Mhm.
Our sewer thing is in a little bit better situation because we haven't had nearly the amount of repairs that we need to do come out of there. There are going to be some upcoming expenditures coming out of there that are going to need to happen to upgrade our infrastructure. Most of that's going to come out of the capital fund for sewer.
Right?
Should
Does all of that come out of the capital fund?
Some of it does. It depends on the expense type and how much it is. That's what dictates whether or not we can capitalize it or not.
But if it's a planned improvement of 5,000 or more, it comes out of that, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So we just bundle everything and it's 5,000 or more.
I wish it were that simple.
Can you explain? I mean, I'm not expecting like you to explain, but can you explain why we're seeing such a different vision with regards to our rate increases from the prediction to what's actually happening?
Well, there's a couple of things that have happened that you couldn't predict for. Is this level of leaks that we have had to correct.
Mhm.
Nobody has a crystal ball. You can't predict those amounts. And usually, they happen. And some years you go a whole year and you don't have any of it, and it's great. It's the unpredictable nature of having infrastructure, unfortunately. Yeah, that's really the only reason that we would need to adjust course is
And obviously I know this is what, this wasn't your position at the time, but is there anything we could have done to do preventive maintenance or like reviewed that?
we've done a lot of that, and our public works team is really on top of that kind of stuff, and they do try to get to the things ahead of before they become that large of a problem.
Mm.
But the problem with water distribution is that a lot of it's underground and you don't see it till it is a problem. So, there is only so much preventative maintenance we can do. Some of this is just going to be aging infrastructure. The pipes and things that were used back in the day are deteriorating, and every material that you use in construction has a lifespan, and it comes to the end of that span at some point.
And do we have like a rainy day fund or anything like that for these kind of things, or did we ever? Do you know?
We've been pretty much using it. To my knowledge, we've been using it.
So why are our water revenues projected to go down next year?
Water revenues are projected to go down next year. I don't know that they're necessarily going down. It's that our expenditures are exceeding what we're bringing in.
Well, I'm just looking on page 31 under Water Fund 60. Um, the total revenue for this year was budgeted at 616, projected actual is 610, and we're budgeting next year for 598. So it doesn't make sense that we're dropping, and I just.
We
wonder-
have less water customers right now than we did have before.
Okay,
We currently have more vacancies of water connections. And that's just at the point in time when we pulled the reports for budgeting.
okay,
So that could change. It's always, with your revenues, it's always better to be very conservative because it's great if you get more money, but it's not great if you plan to have that money and it doesn't come.
sure.
But yeah, that's going to be the big thing there.
And then I'm wondering, in expenditures, I saw it here and I saw it in several other spots.
Mhm.
The increase in salaries and wages and
Mhm.
employee benefits seems disproportionate. And so I'm wondering if you can talk about that.
I'm not sure I understand what you mean by disproportionate.
It's a great deal more than 3%. And I could pull some things. I'll need a second to find the different lines that I was looking at.
-202 minus 185.
Somebody else go ahead. I'll find that.
Yeah, actually, I had same, similar question and seeing that.
If you
So in general government, I notice it
Mhm.
is about that 3%.
Mhm.
And then under building, that's irrelevant. It's little tiny.
Yeah, that
there.
doesn't
Public Works, we're closer to 10% in Public Works. And that's Department 320, which is the smaller of the Public Works Department, the streets. And then in parks, park facilities, we go from 58,000 to 83,000. So that's a pretty big jump.
Which page are you on there?
I'm on page 24. So we have a significant jump, park facilities fund or Department 425. So we have big increases there. So I would like an explanation about those. And then Parks and Rec wages and salaries, that's pretty consistent. Well, it is and it isn't. So we had a budget of 182,491. We have a projected actual of 138,877, but we're budgeting for the following year at 183,109. So that appears to require an explanation.
What page are you on?
24. Recreation Department, 445. So we have a substantial increase from projected actuals to the budgeted number. And they are substantial. Well, the employee benefits number is quite a bit higher than the budgeted number from prior year.
Yeah, we're at almost $250,000 right there, just on salaries and benefits.
So
And
so those are the things that jumped out that I thought would warrant some further information.
I'm making some notes on that. I will have to revisit the spreadsheet that explains all of how we got to these numbers.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, as you can see, this is an 80-page document. I don't have that all in my brain.
So to be clear, just to follow up, Elise, on what you're saying on page 24.
Mhm.
So I saw that both in parks, park facilities, Department 425, and in Recreation Department 445, some really significant increases for salary, wages, and employee benefits.
Right.
So we'd like to get greater detail on.
Yeah, I can get
Previous and.
I can get that for you guys.
Awesome, thank you.
And then the only other thing I wanted to point out is on page 22. You'll notice legal Department 160. In previous years, we've budgeted $5,000.
Well, we were
Oh, it's not
delusional
even
in
funny.
previous years.
Because, your attorneys were only attending maybe one meeting per year, if that, and maybe providing you with some legal briefs, and that was probably about it. Currently, your projected actual for 24-25 is $44,000. But if you continue at the rate of attorney's fees as you have been from the first 6 months of this year, that will put us at a budget in $100,000 for attorney's fees in 25-26. And that's just based on a projection of at the rate we're currently doing. So if
Well, I
there's a
think-
way we can maybe not have that be so high, when our general fund little deficit thing can be a little bit less.
I think one of the two key factors in that, and again, very grateful for both of you guys being here. But having a professional city manager here, and then also a full-time city clerk who can kind of support us with parliamentary procedure, really can go a long way to diminish the cost that we would need with, I mean, the attorney was present here many, many times with the prior city manager. So I think it is also a matter of, like the recruitment for the city manager. You consider those skill sets that kind of supplement or that can address some of what the attorney is sort of backfilling. I mean, not saying that we're looking to hire an attorney as a city manager, but certainly a lot of things have been sort of procedural, and I think there's been an over-reliance there. So certainly, and then we also have to give consideration to how many times we've had BES and we've had housing and we've had some other large items come in.
Yeah, and this is a really unusual year
Mhm.
for giant contracts and really big
Mhm.
big stuff. So so I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, I don't think we're being wasteful with our attorney.
No, I'm not
hours.
saying that. I'm just saying that's one of the areas that if you wanted to try and address something
Sure.
to bring that deficit down, that'd be one of the easier areas to address it in. Point of clarification on what Kat mentioned. Oh God, and it just went out my brain.
It'll come back.
Oh, wages and salaries. I do not have a full-time city clerk in this budget.
Right.
I have lawyer. I have a $90,000 a year city manager. I have lawyer. And then I have existing staff. That's all that's in here. There
Understood.
was no room to put a full-time city clerk.
Mhm.
I think it's also understood too that the city clerk position had been parceled out to many other staff members.
Mhm.
And it's the desire, it's been really expressed by the public repeatedly, and I think this council too, to have a city clerk, a fully fleshed out city clerk position. And that might, require reconstituting that. In other words, pulling those duties away from other staff. But I
I
place
understand the
priority on
desire,
that.
but I'm not sure how we're going to pay for that desire
Mhm.
at this point.
Right.
I completely understand and with that desire, with it. However, I'm not sure how to pay for it. And that's pretty much why I bring you guys what I'm bringing you is because I want to be able to pay for these things. And I want us all to have nice things. I want our city to have nice things. The ways that I see that we can address some of these things, I want to be reinstating and reinvigorating our TOT program where people who have Airbnbs are paying their transient occupancy taxes as they should.
They're currently not.
There are some that are currently not.
Okay.
I would like to increase enforcement of this existing ordinance. That is one low-hanging fruit that can bear some fruit. It's not the silver bullet solution, but it is a piece of a solution.
Mhm.
Other opportunities I've identified are that we can revisit our building and planning fees. Our schedule of fees has not been touched since 2011. So it's not up to parity with what is going on around us as far as what a conditional use permit costs, for instance. We're not up to parity with that, and we're not up to cost recovery with that yet. So that's another area where we can increase our cost recovery and the fees coming into the city that way. The other area of opportunity is to continue on focusing on a recreation economy. This is something that is showing to bear fruit elsewhere in the county and the state, and it's worth the investment in marketing, I would think, to promote our facilities for things like weddings and family reunions, other types of events that help add to the bottom line of where our revenues are coming from. And the great thing about facility rentals for us, that money is discretionary. We can take it and use it for other things, not just parks.
So I think that the facilities rates and rental income have been of interest for a long time. And I would like to see a breakdown of the income we've had in the last year and see where it came from.
And include all the properties that we currently are
Mhm.
responsible for.
Well,
Yeah.
that's going to be under your page 20 under rents.
Right?
Okay.
That is your facilities right now. You get rent from Little League, you get rent from the resource center that occupies Skinner Store when we're not in it. The caretaker cabin in the park that gets rented out to somebody that lives there, and the other park facilities, which is like skate rentals and things like that, party facility rentals. That's going to be that 19.8 right there. That's
Well,
projected.
that
Do we
I
have any,
thought-
fac-
parties, skate parties is on a different line. Skate parties is on page 21. Under
Oh yeah, sorry.
Parks and
Excuse me. The
Recreation
skating and
fees.
party fees. The other ways that we rent
Mhm.
facilities, the other park facilities that we rent are that 19.
Mhm.
Right, and so that's projected to be 19.8,
Mm-hmm.
or it's budgeted for 19.8, and it was budgeted for 25,000 last year, but we only brought in 10,000.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to see where that 10,000 came from, because well, 6 years ago, it was $1,500 for a weekend rental of Paragon Park and Prash Hall.
Mm-hmm.
I would imagine, and I believe that those rates have gone up since then, but I'm wondering if all the events that we have here, why are we breaking down to 10,000? That should be much, much higher.
That's all we took in this year.
Well, I'd like to see that broken out as to where it came from, like how much for this festival, how much for that festival,
Okay.
and so forth, because we need to take a peek at that and see where those revenues are coming from and where they're not coming from, and try to figure out what the problem is there. Are we not renting the facilities often enough? Are we not charging enough? How's that breaking down? Because a lot of events are making a lot of money in Parago Park, and we're coming up with 10 grand. That doesn't pencil.
Do we have
Doesn't
any
pencil out.
other facilities, sorry, Elise?
Go ahead.
Do we have any other facilities that we are not currently collecting rent from? That maybe would not be in here?
Not that I can think of. Everything
Okay.
that's rentable and rented is bringing in the income as assigned by its contract.
Okay.
I
Yep.
don't think we have any vacancies on Mondo right now, so maybe we have one. That would be the only thing, and I don't think we even have that vacancy right now. I think that was
Okay.
filled.
And is say the doghouse in here somewhere?
The doghouse is it's either under park facilities or it's under,
It's hard to tell.
yeah, I think it's under the park facility.
20 or 21?
Yeah, it's on 20 or
20.
21, and it's either that park facilities or it's under the
Hmm.
I forgot what the other title of the thing was. I can send that to you guys in an email. I have a whole spreadsheet that says, here's where all our assumptions
I would
came
expect,
from.
yeah, I would expect like a consistent rate across the board. You know what it's going to be, and it
Yeah,
wouldn't
it's
be up
something like
to
six,
rental.
it's something like 6 or 7 grand a year.
Would we be allowed to see the spreadsheet? Like,
I mean,
or get
yeah,
a digital copy of it?
yeah,
obviously.
totally. It's not something I usually
Yeah.
include in a packet.
Mhm.
So it is a,
Or on,
it's totally digital, so you can just email it to us.
Yeah, I can email.
Great.
Email assumptions.
So if I'm seeing this correctly, then on page 20, like for instance, the caretaker cabin,
Mm-hmm.
projected actual 6,600, so that's about $550 a month rental for that.
I think it's over 600.
Yeah,
It's either
like
600 or
650
650.
or 7, something like that.
So that kind of looks like it was
Oh, I see, because we
vacant.
still have a couple of months left. Still 6 or 7, but does that include water? Does that include electric?
No.
Okay, just curious. And then the same with some of the other facilities. I think it would be important to know, and maybe this might be a longer term project, but it seems like a lot of the fees really haven't been updated, and the cost recovery, just the concept of it has been rather vague, that people came out, they had a good time. And we're not looking to make a ton of money, but we for sure have to at least break even when we're
Yeah.
hosting events, when we're providing a facility, when we're providing utilities, water, garbage, any of that.
Yep.
And then also the amount of staff time and materials that go in to preparation for some of these events and activities.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that'd be something for you working with the staff or the director of, Parks and Recreation.
Yep, I'm already got that going on. That's
Excellent.
why I identified it as an area of opportunity.
Right. Did you have other
Well said.
ideas or opportunities that you were aware of? Any other funding that we
Those
would-
are the big ones right
Okay.
now. Grants in general are in a sketchy place right now, so
Yeah.
we're not sure what we're gonna get out of that bag in the
Okay.
next year.
Mhm.
That's my idea is we focus on economic development, our schedule of fees and our other low hanging fruit where we can
Mhm.
maximize efficiency and make sure that we're doing as much cost recovery as possible. Those are really like our options at the moment.
On that, and I really appreciate that you're already looking into other areas and how to improve cost recovery, get it a little more equitable for the city, and reflecting those costs. That said, I know some of the forms, many of the forms that we have were useful at their time, but are really outdated. One, for instance, would be our employment application to ask for the salary history. That has to be removed. That's been illegal, I think, since 2018 in the state of California and a lot of other places as well. But to get into where it matters with the money is, for instance, when people apply for a business license or to do business here. I think it's important to include that they have, showing their seller's permit, the number for that we can verify it, their DBA, any of their permits or certificates that are required for them to do that business. Because a lot of the things that we have are so informal that I think those are, actual opportunities that the city is missing. One, to make sure that people who are coming in and doing business are doing so appropriately and legally. And two, that we are able to capture. We want to talk about economic development. Let's make sure that we're actually capturing those tax dollars.
Like for Annie and Mary Day, we have, 2 or 3 dozen at least vendors. Are they all paying sales tax?
I
know.
don't run Annie and Mary Day, so I don't know.
Mhm.
That's
Um,
not my purview. I don't run Annie and Mary Day. That's the Chamber of Commerce as far as I'm.
Right.
And it's their event, it's their responsibility to make sure that their vendors are doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Okay.
I,
Right. And I think,
I can't police other people's events.
No,
That's pretty
I
much
think
how that goes.
seems like a rhetorical.
But I mean, I would like for people who do business in our city to do it appropriately and correctly. We already have ordinances on the books, and it's a complaint driven process. If somebody says so and so doesn't have a thing, then I get a complaint and I follow up on it. It's, there's not really much. I can't spend staff time and hours making sure every person who signs up for a business license has then also signed up for, their seller's permit and all of the things that don't run through our agency. I can ask them for proof of it, but But, you know,
Well,
they
what I'm-
generally provide that anyway when they're doing permit applications.
And what I'm saying is that there is no trigger currently on that business license form to even ask it or to write it down. And I think that's so fundamental to the idea of people doing business here,
Mhm.
where we are trying to improve our revenue through taxes and sales taxes. So, you know, these are small but important triggers.
Right, well, it says on the business license application that you're expected to comply with all the rules and regulations that apply to your business. And that, part of that is paying your sales tax and getting your permits and doing all of the things that are required for your
Mhm.
business. So we do have that language already out there, it's in ordinance and it's on the business license application, saying you must comply with these things. If you're found not to comply, you know, then consequences apply.
And that's even for a temporary business license, like the 1-day deals and all that.
The 1-day deals are, you know, what enforcement are you gonna do on a 1-day? business
Well, it's
license?
not about enforcement, it's about putting it on the application and letting the proprietor know that this is a requirement.
Yes, it's on all of the applications, yeah. It's just, you know, again, it's a matter of enforcement, which we, you know, don't have a whole lot to give for that right this second.
Okay.
And there's not a whole lot to be, there's not a whole lot of benefit or gain to the city monetarily to do that. We're not, you know, it doesn't make them give us more money. Whereas addressing our fees, schedule of fees, and addressing other kind of things like that are, I feel like, a more of an important priority.
So is our general fund running $121,000 deficit at the moment?
With this budget,
So what
as
is
it is.
And
current.
last year, where were we last year?
Well, and there's, apparently we have outstanding invoices too that are beyond that. How do we factor that into our budget?
I mean, I can only account for what I know about. I can't
Mhm.
pull things out of a crystal ball and put it into your budget. Budget is a snapshot in time. It's not the end all be all that covers all of into
Mhm.
perpetuity for this whole year. That's what budget amendments are for. You are going to have those.
For sure.
So previous reports, recent reports, not, last 6 months, were like, look healthy. What's changed at this point?
What's changed is, well, we're paying 2 people to be city manager at the same time because of separation agreements. We were paying 2 finance managers at the same time. And, you know, those are things that are definitely an impact, you know, into the tens of thousands of dollars range. Not hundreds, but tens of thousands of dollars. And then, of course, you know, everything has its annual increase, everything. Expenses, not all of our revenues are increasing at the same rate as our expenses. We've had over 20% inflation in just public works materials costs in the last year.
What would you do to increase revenue to make up for this deficit? Or is that's probably a bigger
I feel
question?
like I've already addressed that question by identifying areas of opportunity for you to
Thank you.
address,
Thank you.
for us to move on to addressing.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
So, I know our budget, our total revenues and expenditures for last year out of the general fund were inflated because of the Greenwood Road project by about 1.5 million. So those numbers look, you know, we went from 2.5 million to 1,018,000. So I guess part of my question is, have you analyzed last year to see if we were in the same position or a similar position last year, or where the money was coming from and where the money was going last year as compared to this year? Like, have you identified anything?
I haven't had a chance to do any forensic budgeting. I've not had a chance to look at it. I've only had time and energy to give you a current snapshot of what we're looking at.
Okay.
Do we want to open up to the public? Or do you guys have more questions?
Real quick, ultimately, what I would like to get out of this evening are a future time day that we
Mhm.
can continue to discuss this budget, because clearly we're not gonna accomplish everything that we need to tonight, and I'm already running out of steam. It's 9:44.
Do you
So-
have, do you have clarity on what we were asking about for some of the wage adjustments that were
Mhm.
projected for 25, 26?
Yeah, we want to know
Okay.
why those increases look so high, and I, off the top of my head, don't know.
Oh,
But
that's fine.
I'll get you the answer.
Okay, and then some more definitive, like reflection of what our rents, our
Mhm.
facilities are. Okay, perfect.
So another topic is where the breakdown of the funds that pay for wages, salaries and benefits. And my understanding is that the city manager, the finance manager, and all of the staff that work in the front office are all paid 34% water, sewer, general fund. So
That has been the consistent rule. Yeah, the third, basically we call it a 1/3 split, and it goes from general government, water and sewer.
Mhm.
And that's because the majority of the office, procedures and everything revolve around the water and sewer.
Mhm.
Most of our daily interactions with the public has to do with their water and sewer accounts, or issues with their water and sewer systems, or meters, or, whatever. 8 out of 10 questions I answer on the phone are about water and sewer. And as your public works director, I'm also constantly talking about our water and sewer with our public works team. So that the 1/3 split is pretty accurate as far as I can see.
Okay.
Why, just out of curiosity, why is Glenn not the public works director? Why is this?
That's an excellent question. One, I'm sorry I don't have an answer for. I truly believe Glenn should be our public works director. He's the one that's certified in all the things. So I'm really not sure.
Probably don't want to get off topic.
No.
I'm sorry. I apologize for that question, but anyway.
Agenda.
Yeah. All right, budget. Let's go. Do you guys mind if we open up the public so they can comment?
Nope.
We'll move this
No,
forward.
that's-
Carry
We
on.
can-
That's fine.
Does the public wish to comment on this? No? Julie Christie, go ahead.
Yes, you guys, I think tonight the biggest thing that we have going on is our recommendation is to review the budget for adoption or set study sessions ahead of adoption. Target adoption date should be within the first week of July. I do feel like we need a special session ad hoc with this potentially. I wish we could have expedited that sooner prior in this session because that was the recommendation by staff. However, I appreciate the dialogue. We have not had good collaboration between staff and public with deliberation of the budget in the past. Now we're kind of dealing with the snowball effect of the past as well. So I would advise that you guys just set forward a study session ad hoc real quick. I know it's a lot. You can add some commission members on that potentially. Yeah, let's just get what we can get done, but I don't think we're gonna finish and approve tonight. We're probably gonna have to table it yet again, like everything else. But that's just the way it is right now, and that's okay. I'm okay with that.
Thank you very much. Linda Cooley, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment about businesses and fees. We don't have very many businesses in Blue Lake, so it would take not very long to find out if we all have our business license. We have to have it on our walls. I think there should be time, however, in someone's schedule to check at least the businesses using city property to make sure they're all legal, because inevitably that could return to the city and bite you where it would hurt. So I would hope that anyone's renting or doing business on city property, someone is checking to make sure they have their proper fees paid and their licenses and things like that. And we talked about water, how it's losing, but what other departments have way budgeted over the money they bring in or projected grant money they can use? That should probably be looked at. Thank you.
Thank you. And then AH, you're next.
Hi, yeah, thanks. I just want to appreciate that it's been a long night. I just want to keep it quick and just say that it would be great for the council to consider prioritizing the budget a little sooner in the agenda. Thank you so much, Danny, for the work that you're doing right now, getting a draft budget to this meeting tonight. I have a lot of like professional empathy for what you're going through. I really want to just comment and say that this is like such a heavy lift. And some of the questions tonight to Danny, I feel like are, I don't know, somewhat kind of implying that, and maybe overly leaning on her to provide a lot of the solutions. And just want to caution that leads to like a lot of burnout. And I'm glad that there wasn't really action. I know that we really need a city manager right now for sure, but I'm glad that we're not approving the Tripepi recruitment proposal. It has a high price tag on it. I feel like there needs to be some other proposals to come in to compete with it a little bit, just to make sure that there's like good fiscal stewardship. And I know it's hard to bring those proposals to the table for sure. It takes work. So I just want to say, like, the budget's a difficult thing to do. There needs to be some due diligence to get some other recruitment proposals on the table. And yeah, I just had I didn't really catch whether or not and how the salaries were being kind of scheduled into the budget currently. And like kind of like Linda said, I think there's just maybe some digging around to do, but I really just feel like Danny needs like a lot of input and direction from the council. And like, I think someone else said there needs to be some study sessions scheduled in, and I just want to make sure that this is prioritized on agendas rather than stuck on at the end. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the input. Yes, Justin, go ahead.
Well, there we go. I wanted to address the question made by Elise concerning Annie Mary Day. Everyone that purchases space for a booth is required to have a permit.
Mhm.
We check permits. If you do not have a permit, you do not set up.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Thank you.
We can't confirm whether or not they pay taxes or not, though.
Right.
But we can confirm whether or not they have a permit. If you don't have a permit, you don't set up.
Gotcha.
Yes, go ahead.
So.
Would you mind coming up to the mic? I apologize.
Last year, did we not run at a deficit? And then when we were talking about the budget, Mandy was earlier in the year, she said that money came in, there were even revenues. So did it balance out last year?
No,
or-
no.
it did not. So we ran at
Well,
a deficit as
it's,
well.
There was some
I know we
surprise
were well
funding.
over budget, but how we balanced or didn't balance, I don't have that in my head.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it was online sales tax.
The online sales tax saved our bacon. That's essentially what happened there.
Well,
but
we-
it wasn't the only thing. And you bring up a good point. There are grants still outstanding we have not received reimbursement for. But most of those are allocated to water, sewer, or the roads. So it's not general fund. I'm sorry.
And can I ask one question that I'm not familiar with, because a city budget's a lot different than a school budget, but so say, for example, the Parks and Recreation, where does most of their funding come from? What would be the sources for something like that? Is it like lots of different?
Through the council, I'm happy to answer that question. It's primarily grant funds, state funds, and revenues from doing things like summer camp and facility rentals and things like that.
Thank you.
But it all comes through the general fund, right? Or are there, I mean, I don't know of any grants that have gone directly to Parks and Rec.
The state parks per capita grant.
Yeah, Emily was
The
talking
Parks
about
per
that.
capita grant was $177,000 that was spent over a period of time, but that was exhausted more than a year
but
ago.
I'm saying,
Right,
we
so-
don't have that now, but I'm saying
Right.
there are state funds that do go straight to parks,
Right, but-
just not
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
my understanding is that was a one-time grant, unfortunately.
Right, that's what I'm saying. There's monies that do come available, but primarily we're, whatever allotments we get from the state to the general fund gets put at that and the revenues from the facilities are pretty much it.
Mm.
And whatever grants we call.
Alrighty, can we get a motion to do something?
Well, let's,
When-
Danny, would you like to propose some workshop dates that might work?
Well,
Or your
seeing as though
availability, or-
I would prefer not to work on a Saturday if that's cool after working 5 days in the week. But if we need to have it on a Saturday, we can make that happen. I was gonna suggest, I think I put it in my email. Come here, calendar.
So, maybe you can give us, a bit of an idea as to what work on the budget you have left to do.
Right now, I'm kind of waiting to see if the state will give us some indication of something that I can, say about our, especially our law enforcement grant or fund rather. Really, the only thing is kind of just making sure I'm answering your guys' questions, that it's in a thing that you can understand. I'm sorry it's not going to be super pretty this time, but next time we'll have more time to actually work on this.
Oh, no, it's great. It's just sad.
Yeah, it needs a little bit of polishing and question answering, and that's about it. These numbers are pretty much what we're working with.
Mhm. So the summer recreation program, is that
What
summer
page are
camp?
you on?
I'm
Yeah,
sorry, 21,
Thank you, that helps.
under Parks and Rec fees.
Yes,
So
that's summer camp.
that's summer camp. So it was
Mhm.
budgeted, it was budgeted in 24-25 for 49,000 and our actual was 16.5.
And that's part of that is because of the way we receive the program fees or whatever you want to call them. They get split over the 2 fiscal years because we don't always receive them all by June 30th.
Okay.
Sometimes they come in July and August.
Mhm.
So they get attributed to the next fiscal year.
Okay.
That's mainly it. And then we've also seen a decrease in enrollment in the summer recreation program because we have a decrease in enrollment at our school.
Well, I think last summer, also the school had a day program that was free to all the students. And so I
Yeah.
think that pulled a lot
I'm
of
sure
our,
that'll pull some of
our,
it.
yeah.
But like I said, we have physically less children in town than we used to. The number has reduced.
Sure.
Yeah.
I guess my concern on that is what sort of adjustments have been made to that program to account for the loss of enrollment, that where the kids are going to the school camp instead of coming to the rec
I
camp.
mean, I've been here a month, so
Yeah.
I haven't had time to address all of the running issues that the city has.
I'm not trying to say that you should have that answer right this minute.
Okay,
I'm
great.
saying
'cause-
that's something that I wondered.
Yeah, it's on the list to address, but it's a long and hefty list,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Okay.
Yeah, I would be lying if I didn't say we had lots of room to improve in literally every area.
Okay.
We do have lots of room to improve in every area.
So what if we bring back to the team some ideas, thoughts, new information as it comes, and have another session that's devoted to this, maybe a 2-hour session that would be devoted to this to answer some of those questions or come up with new ones or come up with ideas based on the information we have, plus whatever you're able to maybe send our way before then. I don't know if that's possible because it's a lot.
The Excel sheet would help probably.
Yeah,
too.
I can send. I'm sure the Excel sheet. I mean,
Okay.
you'll have questions about the Excel sheet because it's
Okay.
written in shorthand for brevity. But yeah, I can send you the spreadsheet. I would say the soonest that we could probably schedule another session is going to be the Friday, the 27th. That would be the soonest that I could, get an agenda and all the things and your research on the current questions we have at hand and get that together. If 27th is not going to work for folks, because I generally hesitate to schedule Friday meetings, that's nobody's idea of a good time.
Mhm.
I would say that anytime before Friday the 4th and that next week there, the 30th through the 3rd, one of those days would be an ideal day to set up a next session. There's no rule that you have to have your budget passed by June
Right.
30th.
No,
It's ideal.
Yeah,
So
it's
that
not-
you're not heading
it's
into
not
your
gonna
next
happen.
fiscal year without a road plan, but it's not required.
You know, that would work for me that week, rather than the week after, because I'll be out.
Did you say July 4th?
Before
Before
July
the
4th. Because the office will be closed. I expect nobody will want to go to a meeting.
So, and when would be our target time to adopt the budget?
Ideally, if you could adopt it in the first 2 weeks of July, that's ideal. If we don't adopt it till the 15th of July, it's not gonna hurt anything. It's just ideal, you know what I mean? We're talking about
So-
ideal versus reality.
Okay, so I think, I personally don't want to cram another meeting into this week. We've already had two. I have a board meeting for RCA on Thursday.
Yeah.
I have to go out of town for a grueling overnight something. And, so I don't want to try to cram something into the next 7 days.
I'd like to try for next week.
Okay, well, then the 1st through the 3rd, is any of those days in particular better than others for folks?
I'm not available Monday or Tuesday night
Okay,
next week.
so then that would be Wednesday the 2nd or Thursday the 3rd. Because I did, if it's a study session for all of you, I want all of you here.
Mhm. I'm good Wednesday.
Wednesday, Kat, John, Wednesday, are we feeling it?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay. Wednesday
But-
the 2nd.
Not before 6:30 though.
Oh,
Parks and Rec, but don't they, oh no, they're in here. Oh, I thought they were gonna get trash, never mind. Their meeting starts at 6:30, but you can't start till 6:30 on Wednesday.
I cannot.
So it looks like probably Thursday the 3rd then, unless we're trying to meet somewhere else, which is a challenge. Thank you, Justin, for
Either one,
remembering.
yeah.
Thursday works for me because the next day's a holiday and we all don't have to go to work the next day.
So should we do Thursday the 3rd then,
I think
Sounds
so.
good.
6:30?
Sure.
All right, we got it.
Okay.
3, 25.
And is that going to be dedicated only to budget then?
Can we do 6? Does that work?
Yeah.
I can't be here at 6.
You can.
No, I work till anywhere between 5:30 and 5:45 in Eureka.
And you have to drive.
Okay.
Through the crazy
And I have
out
to
of
pee
Eureka.
and I have to do a few other things.
Oh my God, you want to do human things too? How dare you?
Okay.
Crazy.
Okay.
I can't believe you.
Let's move on to item number 15. Animal control contract discussion action item.
So I think you were going to bring some more information about.
Yeah, I know. Unfortunately, I
Historical
never
costs.
heard back from our HCSO friends other than that they don't believe they've invoiced us for animal control costs in the last 5 years.
That's not true.
That's what the HCSO people said in the email. That they can't find a record of having invoiced us in the last 5 years for animal control specific costs. Whether or not, I have no idea. I wasn't here. But as I did look at the last 12 months of calls that I get the call log from the sheriff, we've had 1 to 2 per month of animal control calls, and they've all been livestock related. Like somebody
that's-
calling
Oh.
about the goat over on Glendale, and somebody calling about the cows over here, and those have literally been the only animal calls that they've listed on the call log for the
Okay.
last year. I would also like to point out, animal control services do not count as frontline law enforcement services.
So they don't,
We cannot pay for this contract out
With
of
our-
SLESF. SLESF. Because they are not a frontline law enforcement.
I had a question about
dug
this.
into that so
told that
hard.
fund, that grant would do, different types of public safety.
It does not. It only does frontline law enforcement services. It's very explicit.
And what does that entail? What
It
are
is-
considered frontline?
Frontline is basically only police services and their equipment
For
about that?
humans.
for humans, not for animals.
I just have a brief, it's not a big deal, but in the summary sheet, the motion sheet, the action sheet, it talks about monthly installments. And in the contract, it talks about quarterly payments, first payment due October 1st. And I don't know what date that's assuming, start date is assuming, but it does.
I think that assumes a July 1st start date if we.
Okay.
Yeah, oh, okay, I see where you're, I see. where
Yeah,
you're-
I mean, it's not a big deal, but I mean, that may be something if, and if we can wait on this, it's not like we have to start them July 1st.
No, we can, if you want to start it, I was told that whenever you submit a signed deal, that's when it starts. As soon
Yeah,
as the
okay.
Board of Supervisors then also approves it.
And then quarterly payments
And then
look like
quarterly.
they're owed here.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
they bill us monthly for everything. So I'm not sure why
Oh,
they
no,
would
it's fine. I was
quarterly
just
do it on
curious.
this one, but yeah. So
Okay.
that's why I put monthly, is because we pay them monthly for
Well,
everything.
no worries.
else.
I just.
So
wanted
the sheriff's
clarity.
department?
Yeah, we pay them something like 7 something a month or 8. Some amount of money a month. It's, yeah.
Hmm.
And anyway, and in that contract, it's lined out as a monthly thing. But anyway,
No worries.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, so I'm feeling like we can wait on this item.
Yeah, we're waiting on other stuff. We might as well wait on this one too.
That's my recommendation for action, no action.
Yeah,
Wait.
I'd like to,
Are you thinking table and are you thinking like no?
How long do you want to bring it?
No,
How
I-
long
I-
before you bring
I
it back?
think we
I-
should bring it back after we settle the budget and we know
For sure.
what we're looking at.
Yeah.
Fair.
Let's talk about,
End of July regular council meeting, pop it back up.
or August. Yeah, somewhere.
Okay.
Does the public wish to comment on this item?
Anybody?
Public wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to council.
I move to bring this back to the end of July regular meeting.
Second.
All right, we have a first and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We voted to bring it back after our budget review in July.
Cool.
All right, moving on to the next item. We need to untable.
Yeah,
the
let's
Tri-Pepe
circle back
Smith.
to Tri-Pepe.
So can we get a motion to
Pardon me.
bring that item back?
Do we need a motion?
I don't think
Okay.
you need a
Need a
motion to bring
motion.
it back. You can just bring it back now in the,
Oh, bringing
since
it
we've
back.
addressed all the other business.
Right. All right. So we've brought back Tri-Pepe Smith. What do we want to do with that item?
So I have a question for Danny about when the general fund goes over budget. I know we have some cash,
We have a little bit of cash reserves.
and what is the total of, what is the balance of our cash reserve?
Cash reserve balance is, I can remember what page it's on.
Just,
No, it's not that. Oh,
I have a number in my head of something in the neighborhood of 700,000, which
yeah, I can't remember off the
is
top
not a
of my
current
head.
number.
I don't think it's 700,000. We have 700,000 in the LEAF fund. That is an investment fund that's supposed to cover our unfunded pension liabilities as required by the state of California.
Mm.
So we can't touch that and put it in the general.
But
fund.
for the other fund, that you aren't able to locate.
Yeah, I'll have to look up our cash reserve balance. It's not, I don't think it's on here.
Hmm.
Because you don't usually plan to use your cash reserves in your budget.
right?
Fair, that's fair.
But like to know what it is, if we've been holding steady, going up, going down on that.
Yes, I can
But-
get you that information, just not off the top of my head right now. Sorry.
Okay.
And, I mean, we overspent our income last year by 240,000, I think. And some of that was cost recovery, but I don't know where the rest came from. And I'd really like to understand that.
Yeah, I wasn't here, so I really don't know.
Yeah.
I'll do
That's
some
kind of,
asking.
that's why I asked you, earlier if you had a handle on last year. I could extrapolate forward from there, but, anyway, it's, I don't know. It's confusing.
Nothing about this is that simple, unfortunately.
Had
So
we moved
being
back to
confused is the
Tri-Peppy
natural
Smith?
Right,
state.
we are. in
Sorry.
Smith.
Okay.
Yeah, we're at Troy Pepe Smith. I was just trying to figure out if there was,
In cash.
Cash to pay for.
if there was a pot of money.
I know. I wish I had a magical pile of money for you. I really did.
Sorry. We could just dip in.
I
Anyway,
wish I had a magical pile of money for you guys. I
All
really
right,
wish I
I'm
did.
gonna move that we table the Tri-Peppy recruitment process to the next regular meeting.
I don't want to go that far out. Sorry, you were saying.
That would be
So that-
722 for reference.
Motion dice. There's no second. Can we form an ad hoc now
Yeah,
during this moment?
yeah.
Would the council consider if we tabled this till after our budget review, but at the same time had an ad hoc committee that would look into alternative options and then potentially take on the overall process or the majority of the process
Yeah, I would like some.
Majority of the process for what?
for searching for alternatives.
Doing the research and
Doing the
legwork.
research.
Okay.
I think that, at this point, council and potentially council needs to move forward quickly on this process, quicker than we have been.
Right?
Otherwise, I'm gonna have to hire a finance manager.
Right.
Like that's where we're at. Vicky
So-
wants to
Yeah.
leave.
Just,
I
that's
get-
just,
This is a bird in the hand. And this isn't just dithering, it is foot dragging at this point. This is absolutely qualified organization that has done some fantastic, successful placements. And I don't know what we gain by trying to go back over proposals or alternatives that have already been turned down. What magically is going to appear at this point when they likely have people already in the pipeline, people that they could already consider as candidates in here. And certainly there's a lot of value to us to be able to work with an organization like this that can kind of obviously guide us to a consensus on what might work as a good city manager. I don't know that we're going to necessarily get that type of support elsewhere. So clearly I am frustrated that we are 2 months before we've even seen this. And now the idea is, well, let's table it again or let's push it even further out. We have staff that are out of position, that are having to cover multiple positions. And I understand that this costs money, but $15,000, we could be looking at $35,000 for this kind of quality work. And if we want to dither around and say, well, no, we're going to look somewhere else, except for we don't really know where we're going to look. The time to move is now. What more do you want? Is my question on this.
Well, I tend to agree with you, and I feel like it's 15 grand, and 15 grand is a chunk of change, but we can't afford not to spend it. You know, we have, you know, the city of Blue Lake has sort of had a lot of history of having, you know, city managers come in to finish off their last few years before they retired, just to hop in and just hold the fort down for a few months or a year. We've had a lot of that over time, and I think we're all ready to do something different. Um, and I don't feel. I mean, honestly, I don't feel like we have a second option. I don't know that there's anything better out there or cheaper. Um, and uh, and I think that Trepepe Smith can do a lot of guiding. They did that for RCEA. They, you know, and truly, I think we need it. You know, I think we don't have the skill set in this room to do the work that they can do for us.
Michelle?
I don't disagree. I'm looking at the company, I'm exploring, I'm looking at the cities that they've already served. And funny enough, we have a lot of commonalities in with these cities
Mhm.
in regards to challenges with the housing element, compliance, and other things. Not that that is a reflection of Tri-Pepe Smith's, but we also don't have a guarantee of a placement of somebody. I'm not sure, I'm pretty sure that the position has not been posted anywhere
Correct.
for us to just jump in. And I don't, you know, I'm sure we all have had some experience with people who have been recruited, pulled in from out of the area, given the position, and were actively looking for their next position as they were working for doing their 12-month stint or whatever. I'm not interested in that. I want to be very thoughtful and careful. I'm not saying that they won't be, but I feel like I would like to explore some other options. As Danny has indicated, she's going to struggle to find this money. I'm not sure where the payments are going to come from. Yes, we can certainly pick and choose what we need out of this little menu here. Maybe we don't need all of the 4 to 6 page digital recruitment brochure for Blue Lake, but it's still some money, and I just wanted to take a minute to have an ad hoc to discuss other options and do some more investigation.
Would you be willing to be part of that ad hoc?
Sure.
And how much time do you think we should take to do that?
Well, we have a meeting next week, so
I think
we really need to get a move on this.
I have this idea that if we're going to not go with Trepepe Smith, if we're not sure we want to do that, then we should post a position.
Yeah, it should have been posted.
If
It should have been
if we're
posted.
not going to, yeah, if we're not ready to pull. If you
No,
told me you
why
wanted
not?
that,
Yeah.
it's just-
No. It should have been posted.
If you notice on here, the people that they recruited were not from out of the area. There's so much talent already here in Humboldt County. And they're high functioning, very capable, flexible. They exist here already. I doubt very much that we're going to recruit somebody from Southern California to come out here. And in our discussions with Tri-Pepe Smith, as you profile what you're looking for, that can be made really clear. That is part of what's shaped into their recruitment process. This just keeps stretching out and getting longer and longer. You know, and honestly, the opportunity to have done that is, that to me, it's in the rearview mirror. This is where we are now. If we wanted to do some type of alternative, we could have considered that at the time. And, you know, as we had with the city clerk multiple times, there seemed to be no will for this council to engage with local recruitment sources. So I don't know, are we getting a Craigslist for our next city manager? Is that the idea?
Well, so now I've lost track of what we asked Ryan. Did we ask Ryan to do anything with Trepepe?
He was going to
Smith?
take direction from Danny out of the
Okay.
report for what we decide tonight.
Um,
You guys mind if we open up to the public really quick?
No. Everybody's done.
Any public comment? Yes, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I know it's going late.
Yeah.
I would it just sounds like a good idea to move forward with this because by the time you get an ad hoc and then you talk about it some more, so whatever has to happen within the budget or if there is money or where we have to dig deep to find that, I think this is really an important thing. And you are already all stretched so thin, and that's the reason for recruitment like this, because just if you take out that component of having to, you're still going to do interviews, you're going to take on that part of it to get help with this. It doesn't seem like an unreasonable cost being on all the committees to work for hiring superintendents for schools, and they always went out and used an outside source to help them recruit. And this seems less than what we would generally do in the school district. So I encourage you to move forward with recruiting a new city manager.
Great, thank you. Anyone else?
I know that $400 we're spending on the portable toilet at the town hall isn't going to, but it's stuff like that. I mean, there's little stuff here and there that I see in there. And I just think it's really important. Now we've put off a city clerk. Now we're being told we can't afford a city clerk. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. And I think we need to get a city manager in place.
Great, thank you. Julie, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, John. What action item are we on to be making a motion right now?
We untabled the city manager recruitment process with Tribe Happy Smith.
Okay. Okay, I'll just concur my prior statements on that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Let's bring it back to council for a decision or a motion.
I make a motion to move forward with this, to direct the city attorney to please engage with Tri-Pepe Smith in the recruitment process, to begin the recruitment process for a city manager.
I'll second that.
We have a first and a second. Any public comment? Seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. No one opposed.
I mean, me, no.
Okay. So we're gonna,
I would like, in the interest of cost, to be able to have a preliminary meeting with Trefeppe Smith and kind of review this proposal, and if we can reduce, I mean, I think the marketing materials are a little much. I don't really think we need that kind of a real robust brochure.
Right.
Because like Kat said, they're doing a lot of recruiting from local, and
can we amend the motion once we've already made it?
No.
No.
You've already voted on it.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
we don't need to change the motion, but
You can still direct
But
staff
this
to
is-
do
yeah,
things.
this is
as
direction to
part of the
Ryan.
Direction.
that we want to look, this is our à la carte menu. We should have a face-to-face with Christine Martin, and we should talk a little bit about what they've proposed, and if we want to pare that down a little bit in areas that we think are not necessary, then we should be able to do that.
I agree with you.
Well, and that can happen. But how about we just have her come out for an initial face-to-face?
She's in
overview?
Tennessee. I don't think she's
Okay.
coming out for a face.
You're not
Oh,
paying
oh.
those travel costs.
Totally.
Those are not included in the
So,
proposal,
all
by
right.
the way,
Whatever
just to point
means.
that out.
Yes.
All right.
Zoom, smoke signal,
Whatever.
Yes, Zoom.
Morse
Zoomy
code.
Zooms.
All right. Sorry. Do you mind if we? Do you mind? All right.
Okay.
Reports of council and staff. Do we have to do this?
It's on the agenda.
It's on the agenda.
Fast.
You can always say I have nothing to report
Yeah.
at this time.
HCOG. I would like to do a shout out to staff and our city engineer who successfully wrote for funding for 2 Polaris craft, and HCOG approved that. Very cool. It's going to replace, you can probably speak to it more if you'd
We're
like
going to
to.
replace old stuff at Public Works and be more carbon friendly.
Yeah, so instead of that old F-250 diesel truck, I don't know how old it is, we'll have two Polaris, or I guess Polari, since it's two of them. And, yeah, good job on that.
All right.
Great. Michelle, anything to report?
Went to the HWMA meeting and Eric did a fantastic job doing a presentation on the history of the Cummins Road landfill and the maintenance of that and some of the challenges that happen. And it's quite a remarkable story. I think that the information is available on the HWMA website, along with lots of other information. And that was the only meeting that I went to.
Okay.
All right. So I attended the Parks and Rec meeting and the movie presentation. I'll just combine the two together. Essentially, there was discussion about the bike park, the projected target date for opening is July 21st, July 11th, 2025, and they're hoping to, or sorry, that's completion. They want to complete the paved pump track, the fencing, and the signage. They're going to have a soft opening is July 11th as well. They're going to be doing monthly updates with financial reports, volunteer logs, and progress photos. And there's been probably 21, more than 2,000 hours put into it so far. And they also have some benefit packages ranging from copper to platinum, and I won't go into the dollar amounts, but you guys
I mean,
can
sponsorship package.
sponsorship package. Thank you. And that's it.
Okay. I guess that we had a public safety commission meeting, and seems like such a long time ago. We talked about traffic calming measures on I Street. We talked about 4th of July and the flyer that we've already learned about, and RCA coming up this week. And I'm sure I'm forgetting something, but that's all I'm going to report on for right now.
I think you hit the highlights there.
City manager report.
Alrighty, well, I brought you your budget after many labored efforts. Basically, I've just been working on trying to make sure that all of the city functions are functioning and looking for these areas of opportunity where we need to grow and trying to get some plans in place to address some of those things. On a functional side, rather than the money side, since I feel like I've belabored that point already too much tonight. On a functional side, we're working on improvements to efficiency in our AP process, our accounts payable process, and also to our cash receipts process. And so that'll be something that can hopefully alleviate some of our staff time that's currently dedicated to that, and so I can direct it elsewhere to the other needs we have. I've been working with Tony on our TOT program. She's the person in our office currently who handles that. And so
What is RTOT?
Oh, transient occupancy tax. It's the tax that people who do Airbnbs pay. If we had a hotel in city limits, they would pay a TOT as well.
Sure.
So just basically kind of looking up who's got Airbnbs, making sure we're sending them letters and telling them, hey, you're required to do a thing. Please do it. You have this amount of time to come into compliance. Otherwise, penalties, yada, yada.
Doesn't that usually get paid through like Airbnb or?
Not at all.
It doesn't?
Nope. No,
Oh,
the
I think
city
that was
has to
part of the
negotiate with
fees.
Airbnb to be on the receiving end of their taxes. Otherwise, it is the Airbnb host's responsibility to make sure they pay their municipality. City of Eureka currently operates that way. Even as large as they are, Airbnb does not take their taxes or pass them through to Eureka, and so they have to also bill people for their transient occupancy taxes quarterly.
And so you're saying that that the city could contract with Airbnb to do it?
No,
No,
they
can't.
don't. They won't. We're too small. They do that with like San Francisco.
Oh,
Yeah, they don't do that with anything under 500,000 people.
okay.
We're not worthy.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's,
Hmm.
big
So
enough
how
to be
many-
a city, small enough to not get thought about very much.
How many Airbnbs do we have in City Limits?
To my knowledge, we have 5, but I haven't looked at, I haven't looked at Airbnb specifically to be like, hey, how many are there? That's on Tony's list of to-dos.
Mhm.
Is to see how many people are not reporting
Good.
as an Airbnb that should be.
Good.
Mhm.
So, and there are ways we can pursue back taxes from those.
Awesome.
So that's the big report. Is I'm working on getting us some money somewhere somehow. That's the report.
Great. All right, future agenda items.
Nope, ad hoc committee.
Council ad hoc committees. I put that on there because somebody expressed a desire for ad hocs if they did not have an agendized thing to give a report out to the rest of council should they desire to do
Oh.
so.
Oh. Hmm.
If any of you who are on ad hocs desire to give an update, then this is your chance. If not, it's not.
I think we need an
Great.
ad hoc grid.
We, that's what I was gonna
Matrix,
suggest.
yeah.
We need to develop an ad hoc, this can be another future agenda
Yes.
item, I think.
Yes.
But we need to have an ad hoc grid generated,
Yes.
and maintained, because I think over time.
Like at a
so-
glance, so I know who I can talk to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm in the same boat. Wait,
Yeah.
who was on that again? Let me
Yeah, I
not
don't know.
include
Can
the
I talk
wrong
to you about?
person.
Are you? We no.
I think there's been some ad hocs lost over the entire processes that we've been going through. Not lost, but just like.
Yeah,
Faded away.
Faded away.
Yeah,
And we need to reestablish those and have an official,
a
at least
list. Yeah.
list.
So should we send them to Danny?
Yeah,
or
whatever
have
you
her
actually
dig them?
know,
I mean,
because
let's send, do you want to send them to you later or
We
Yeah,
can
this
just
meeting?
speak them right now.
I mean, if you
Can
want
we
to say them
speak
out
'em?
loud right
Let's
now, let's
speak 'em.
do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just spit it out. Me and Michelle are on ad hoc for the power plant.
Michelle and Elise.
And then
Power
me and John are on an ad hoc for transparency.
That's, well, it was like transparency website. Yeah.
Yeah, the little transparency project
Right.
thing.
Mm.
Forgot about that
And
one.
then John and I are ad hoc for any ongoing negotiations.
Mhm.
So now
Me-
that
Wait, slow down 1 second. Transparency and website. Who was on the next one?
me and John as well for
Oh, yeah.
ongoing negotiations between the city and anyone.
Which I think we should adjust in the future, but
Yeah, it was kind of a
Negotiations. Emergency.
stopgap
Mhm.
thing.
Negotiations ad hoc. Is that what that is?
yeah, let's call
Okay.
that. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's
Me
all
and
I'm
Michelle
on.
are on bike review. Are we on anything that's active?
Commissions.
Oh, that's right. Commission realignment. Yeah.
And that's you and Kat?
Yes.
Okay.
I think Kat and Michelle are on the city clerk
We
thing.
are now from the last one, yes.
I mean, you have been for
Well,
months,
yeah, we
right?
have, and we've renewed that to
Right.
focus on job description.
Right. Right.
So,
Do you think, Danny, you're gonna get me something? Never mind.
I thought I emailed you guys the city clerk association thing.
Maybe you did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
thought I
sent the triangle one.
Mm. Hmm. No, I had that. That's right. Okay.
I don't. I mean, I think that we could safely say, I don't want to have discussion or anything on it, but I think we can say that we're wrapping up the bike park ad hoc report
Okay.
in the future.
So you don't have anything to tell us tonight?
We didn't, it's not an agendized item, so I'm not really comfortable.
Well, I mean, if you have nothing to report on it right now, then I would just roll forward.
Well, I think this permits you to do a report.
10:30, we have an hour and a half.
Okay, I'll just say, a lot of information has come out lately, publicly in the Parks and Rec meeting that we were reviewing. We're continuing to review some other items, but I'm not going to bring anything forward at this time. Any other ad hocs wish to speak? Or did we have any other ad hocs that we needed to bring forward to Danny?
You and I were power transitions, but that just got changed, right? Because we did that one time
Mhm.
information, and then that's done. Okay,
Mhm.
so that's done.
Mm-hmm. We got bumped off.
And
Any other?
Elise, for you and I to do any budget work together?
As an ad hoc,
Uh-huh.
not
Think
that I
so?
know of,
Okay.
but sorry, just trying to
Oh,
get
I
them
know,
off.
there's a mosquito too.
Let 'em-
I'm trying to
Yeah.
get people.
I think that's about.
So we
yeah.
have all our ad hocs.
Yep.
Does any ad hoc wish to make a report at this time?
No.
I think Michelle and I had
Oh.
a meeting with you and with Glenn about the power plant, talking about some of the different safety concerns.
Mhm.
And I feel like that perhaps that kind of left us in limbo a little bit. I don't feel like we made any leaps or bounds on that.
No,
one.
just information gathering still early on.
Mhm. And then we also met with the gentleman who spoke at public comment earlier tonight,
Mhm.
Ron Hill of
Mhm.
Ron Hill Construction,
Mhm.
and we learned about some of the plans that were made in the time frame he spoke of between the last quarter of 23 and the first quarter of 24, and he shared some more information about what some of the things that could potentially happen, and the idea that that working we've all heard about how many millions it would cost to demo the power plant if we were to go out for a request for proposals as a city,
Mhm.
and the whole conundrum of prevailing wage. If you're a city hiring, you pay prevailing wage, and that might double your costs or come close to that. In the situation that we're in currently, he was hired by the owners of Blue Lake Power, and so if something were to happen between the city and Blue Lake Power and Ron Hill Construction, it would be happening under the auspices of him working for Blue Lake Power, so it would not be a prevailing wage situation. So it's possible that there's some options there that we could learn about
Mhm.
that might be entirely feasible, and do something soon instead of God knows when somebody with a pot of money drops in out of the sky
Mhm. It's
next
gonna
time.
happen. Just put it out there.
Manifest.
Well, we need Rua and Barbara. They had that energy for
So
they'll get it done.
Okay.
All right. Any more ad hoc comments? Seeing none, moving on to future agenda items. Item 17.
looks like somebody's gonna come
Julie, can they comment on?
Yeah, I'm gonna slip in with public comment, just keep things
Is
kosher.
this-
I appreciate the ad hoc addition. Just remember within your reports, just keep to the report without additional discussion or opinions on situations, and that will keep everything smooth sailing, you guys.
Thank you.
Nice.
Okay.
Any further public comment on council ad hoc committees? Great. On to future agenda items, item 17. Does anyone have any future agenda items?
Yes.
Okay.
I would like us to schedule a meeting, which I imagine would have to be a closed session, with Ron Hill and the owners of Blue Lake Power. I think, I'm sure Ryan Plotz would want to be there. But I think that, given our current set of circumstances, that would be a prudent move to learn and discover and converse about possibilities.
Okay.
Okay.
And I think that should happen sooner than later,
Okay.
of course.
You got it. It's on there.
No,
Noted.
it's all not.
Noted.
Tell us
Great.
more.
Let's discuss, no, let's,
Oh,
moving
God.
on, so,
On
Oh,
your
wait, looks
back.
like Julie's got a comment.
I don't,
I
I,
don't think we typically have public comment at this time.
I think they can bring item forward.
In
Kat.
the interest of time, Julie, can you email me your comment if it's a request for an agenda item, and I will bring it to the ad hoc agenda committee?
Got a thumb.
Thank you.
Good.
Okay, Kat.
Yeah, I know that it's already on the future agenda items, but if we could sooner rather than later, have council have the ability to discuss having a meeting twice a month on a regular basis. So we can
Yes,
kind of
it's
do
on,
away
it's
with the
on
special
our
items.
thing too.
It's on there, just trying to breathe a little life into
Oh.
it.
Seen that thing for a while.
And
I
then
know, Amy.
I guess as an agenda item, then the possibility to speak or hear from Christine with Tri-Pepe Smith. We have that motion, but
We
have
have
Yeah,
that.
that's covered
Right?
in
Okay,
that.
just making sure.
That should be a sooner than later.
Right. Do we have an agenda item for recruitment of our
City
fifth
clerk?
city council person?
No,
Yeah.
nobody has applied yet.
Why not?
I plead the fifth. I plead the fifth on that one.
Okay.
I mean, is there,
Hey.
okay, I don't know. Julie's laughing at
Hint,
us.
hint, nudge, nudge.
Times people
So-
don't apply until the deadline or near the deadline.
Right,
Yeah,
okay,
we're not
well,
at the
yeah.
deadline yet.
all right. Well, do we
The
need to
15th of
agendize that so
July.
we can talk about it again?
We'll agendize
And maybe
it after
advertise
the
it?
15th.
Maybe post it up on Facebook?
I did post it on Facebook.
Well, I mean, no, more again, like
Oh,
on
you
repeat.
want more?
On loop. On loop. I know that if people in this room can post on Facebook. I'm just saying.
Okay.
Are you
pretty
posting
sure.
as the city of Blue Lake and
Yes, that's-
blurbing it on the groups too?
That's no, I don't play in the groups. I only post to our official city page. If somebody wants to take what's on the official city page
Gotcha.
and share
Okay,
it somewhere
okay.
else, they're welcome.
Julie's on it. Okay.
I don't play in the pages. I stay out of it. I'm in Switzerland.
What else?
And you can, I want you to tell me to be quiet if I say too much, but can we write a letter of disappointment? Is that allowed or would
Oh.
that not be allowed?
A letter
To whom?
for, huh?
A letter
the
of- A
creator?
letter of disappointment and neutrality.
In neutrality for.
Maybe we should talk.
That's an agenda
I
item.
was gonna say, hit me up offline
Okay,
about it
same, sounds
later.
You know what? I have brain fart. There's something very, very, very important I want to put on.
Okay.
If you think of it, I have one in the meantime. Ground rules for meetings. I would like to agendize that. I would like us to spend maybe 15 minutes setting some ground rules for us and the public
Love that.
for these meetings
Okay.
to encourage professional conduct and decorum.
Good. I have some ideas for that.
Okay. I would like to have an opportunity to reach out to the Rancheria in the form of a letter that we would all sign. And I don't know if that needs to be an agenda item or
Maybe-
if we could. And I should have said this.
About
I should have.
reaching out? And maybe let's talk about how you want to flesh that out later, and I'll bring it to the agenda ad hoc committee. Because I like where you're going, but I need more detail.
Oh, yeah. Who's on the agenda ad hoc committee?
Right now, I have you two, Michelle and John.
Oh,
Yeah.
If that needs to
we-
change, you can change it. That's up to you.
you were going to, that was a flexing thing,
Maybe let's.
wasn't it? Switching back and forth.
It
week to
was.
week?
It was switching every
Oh,
month.
yes.
Yeah. It was always John and
Do we
one
want
other
to
person. every
revisit that or what do we want to do with that?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
But
So I'll put
not,
agenda ad
I know,
hoc
I
on the-
think that what we should do is
future.
probably get with our manual update. Bring that. I would like to bring forward the manual update, but if you could get me the unmarked Word document of the reworking of our manual.
I couldn't find the Word document. All I found was PDF. I know, I'm so sorry. I searched in every folder on the hard drive. So I typed in
That's okay.
council responsibilities and
Gotcha.
no, only PDFs came up.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm so sorry.
That's going to be a little bit.
Just
That's going to be a project.
do you have the same
to
drive?
retype.
No. You can convert.
Do you have the same?
Yeah, you can
No,
convert it
not
to
this
Word.
marked up one.
Oh, it's all, oh, the mark. I can try to
It's
find
so
you the
bad.
unmarked PDF.
Okay, okay, let's start there.
Might be somewhere to start.
Let's start there.
Okay.
You know, that's a little
Um,
off topic, but that can be agendized.
So our agenda process is spelled out in the municipal code. So we have a couple different ways we can go. We can do the ad hoc thing that we were doing. Or we can revert to the municipal code. But, and John had mentioned just not having an ad hoc committee, having him be the dude. And then that way he can receive requests from anybody. It's never going to be a Brown Act violation because we're only talking to him about our agenda requests.
Oh,
Is that true? I just want to make sure that's true. Or it would come to you.
It's tricky, but it could function that way, to my knowledge.
And we could try that for a couple months and see
Sure.
how it flies,
that's fine.
potentially.
Or would they submit it to you?
I mean, ideally they copy both of us, since I'm the one actually like putting it on the Word document. So you know what I mean?
Uh-huh. And
That
then-
way I have the language that was, that you guys wanted.
Well, I mean, if you set a deadline and just said, okay, by this date, give me your agenda items.
I would love to do that. I would personally love for us to be deciding the agenda items the Monday before the meeting. And then that way we're having pretty much the agenda set by Wednesday, released on Friday with the entire packet ready to go. That way, if I'm waiting last minute for, presentations from other people who are coming to present and stuff like that, they have an opportunity to get it in the packet. But ideally the Monday before your next planned meeting, I would love to have your agenda items.
So I love the Monday thing. That's why I proposed the draft agenda was shared on a Monday. And then anything that's missing gets fleshed out.
Are we
Monday,
straying off the
Tuesday.
topic at this?
This is future
We're talking
agenda
about future
items.
agenda items, how we
Okay.
handle the agendas,
Okay.
the argument could be made.
Check
Yeah.
if we're getting
So-
too far in the weeds.
So that's, I think it's really hard when somebody says, hey, you got any agenda items? It's really hard to say yes or no when you don't know what's already on the draft agenda.
Mm.
So,
Mhm.
and like, I got that email from you last week and I was like, what you got in your draft agenda? And I was at work and it's just like, sorry, zero bandwidth for this right now. But if I have a draft agenda in front of me, I can, take a peek at it and know what's going on.
Great.
So I would love to have that process, like share your draft agenda with all of us on a Monday, and then we have the opportunity to present to you anything that we believe is missing or anything that we've hatched in our little heads since our last chat. And then
I don't know. I just feel like it seems like it would be more streamlined if she wasn't being peppered with a bunch of different emails and she had one person, Dawn, who could be the
right,
deliverer.
but John has to go to work, and John has to deal with all this stuff while he's
I
trying
think-
to be at work and stuff.
I think CCing,
I think if you CC us both, then it gets covered either way.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, then it won't fall through the cracks.
Piggybacking on this idea, I totally appreciate you wanting to have more lead time, totally fair. And on that note, we don't have to wait until just a week before. Some of this stuff, we know that December 12th, we want to have done that housing element. We can start to
Right.
pencil in some of this stuff now, those big major items, and have those parsed out over the next few months. So we know when we're dealing with it, we have hard deadlines.
I'm
Um,
working on a planning calendar for those more long range items
Beautiful,
to
thank
try
you.
and set
Awesome.
reasonable dates
Perfect.
for you guys that align with existing meetings you already have, so we don't have to call so many special meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
So I'm working
Well,
on a
that's
long
something.
range planning calendar right now. The biggest things I need from you guys are like the timely things that, that we aren't already addressing in a session like right now. If we have talked about it as a future agenda item, it's gonna go on there unless there's a really good reason that it can't be addressed at that particular agenda. So, you know, when I call for agenda items, it's mostly like, is there anything that you've got in your mind that we haven't as a team already had a chance to discuss? Or, you know, that you've been meaning to bring up and we haven't got there yet.
Okay.
That would be really helpful for me. But yeah, most of the time, anything that you guys already expressed to me in these meetings, those are going on your agendas, unless there's, like I said, a really dang good reason that it can't.
I think something else that we've talked about, but I'm not sure where we're at with it, is to revisit the whole commissions reporting out to the council process. That thought idea, unless I'm
Probably
misremembering.
part of our.
Realignment.
Oh, you're ad hoc, right? Okay, sorry.
So we'll save that one until the ad hoc's
Sure.
ready to bring that. Okay.
Hopefully we can get moving forward on some other things soon besides.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Anything else for future agenda items? All right. Well, then, you don't have any new council correspondence unless you guys have something you'd like to share on that note. I don't have any to include in your packet this time. And so a motion to adjourn is always in order.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you.